Welcome to Go Team Score Points, a podcast that started because the news is a lot and maybe learning about sports would be nice. In today's episode, we go over some current events. I talk very briefly about the Timberwolves Spurs Game 6, and draft correspondent Andrew Lohman is back. It's our best episode yet.
An exclusive with Andrew Lohman. He's not on any other podcast talking about basketball.
I mean, I don't think
so. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe he is.
I'm happy to have him back. It's very exciting. But he's very knowledgeable about all things draft.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. But first, current events.
Yeah.
Sad week in the NBA.
Did you do a lot of research on this?
I did not. There are two players who passed away. Jason Collins, he was the first openly gay player.
Yep.
And I saw a clip of Charles Barkley talking about like how we live in this homophobic society. And he was like, do you think there's only one gay player in the NBA? It's just people aren't comfortable being out yet. And that's the tragedy.
Right.
He died of cancer and he was my age.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sad.
Really sad. And then Brandon Clark of the Grizzlies, he passed away in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Really just sad.
Thoughts to them and their families and everything. Lighter note.
Other current events.
Shaquille
O'Neal got his master's degree.
LSU.
Yeah. I don't know what it's in. I just look.
Yeah. I was wondering, is this like one of those honorary things or did he finish a program or?
A master's of liberal arts.
Shaquille, I hate Charles Barkley O'Neal.
Funny guy.
He is a funny guy. Yeah.
That's good for Shaq. Congratulations.
Yeah. Anything else?
We had a comment.
There's a new comment on an old video.
Someone coming in strong that Larry Bird would be great on today's NBA. Good hot take. Good job.
Like, how did they even find that clip?
I don't know.
It was from like over a year ago.
The algorithm must have been like, are you sure? All right, you can watch it. But man, this is a deep dive in the internet. Right. Even for the internet, this is obscure.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks for the comment. Larry Bird would be great in today's NBA.
I bet he would. I do not know what I'm talking about.
He would be so great in today's NBA.
He would be.
Yeah. So playoff.
So yesterday I watched the Timberwolves play the Spurs. That's a generous interpretation of what happened.
What the Timberwolves did.
Yeah. Because it was the only game to watch. And I am mad at the Timberwolves. So I was like, I'm going to watch this game. Started at like 9:30 our time, but I started watching it probably at like maybe 10:30 or 11. I saw the Spurs were ahead and they were ahead by a lot.
Yeah.
And so I watched the first two quarters of the game and then it was like a blowout. Yep. So I stopped watching. Okay, let me tell you about this game briefly. Yep. It was on Amazon Prime. The last game I watched on Amazon Prime, the announcers were garbage.
Kevin Harlan.
Yes, Kevin Harlan, like he called him like Alex Gordon instead of Aaron Gordon. It was ridiculous. Yeah, but this time I thought they were good. And I looked them up and they're like legit NBA people. Ian Eagle and Stan Van Gundy.
Oh, great.
Right. Like these are people who know basketball.
Yeah.
Like Ian Eagle, my understanding is he's kind of sports guy.
Yeah.
Like he's an announcer, not specifically basketball, but he has done basketball. His kid does basketball for the Nets. I think they both work for the Nets.
How do you spell Ian?
Like Ian.
Oh.
I wrote in my notes, pronounced like Ian Ziering, who was on 90210.
Oh. Great. Stan Van Gundy's good too. He was a coach in the NBA for a few different teams, so he knows his stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was like, okay, these people, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So good job, Amazon, hiring people who are up to the task.
Yeah. With that infinite money, you spent it kind of well. Good job.
Yeah. This game is in Minnesota. Start with a moment of silence for the current events we talked about. Okay. Right away, the Spurs are doing great.
Yeah.
And also right away, Wemby gets called for goaltending. Apparently this has been an issue in this series and Chris Finch has complained about it. But I think it's funny, like, how do you not call, like, how do we separate out Wemby?
Yeah.
And just his presence.
Yeah.
From goaltending. He's like standing near the basket. They're like, come on. He's like, what? I'm just here existing.
Yeah. They're like, well, you're attending the goal. Right. He's like, I can't.
He's like, I'm going to duck down.
Yeah, I can't not. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay, so the Spurs get the lead. The t-shirt toss during break. Luke Cornett is on the Spurs. I'm sure we talked about that, but I forgot about it. And so it was a fun surprise for me.
Yeah.
He played well. I've got a video here of a crazy pass that Castle did to Wemby. Wemby's like falling, shoots it, it goes in. Yeah. The Spurs were really, it wasn't just like Wemby's show.
Yeah.
It was a very, like the team was really playing well together. Everyone was a superstar.
Yeah.
Superstars.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting, this Western Conference, because the Thunder haven't lost a game yet in the postseason.
There seems to be like, this would be a good contender for the Thunder, like the Spurs.
Yeah. Kind of a unstoppable force, immovable object situation with those two teams.
Yeah.
Right now.
This point in this game, 5 minutes into the second quarter, the Spurs went on a 20-0 run.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then I turned off the game.
Yeah.
But then I saw that they won. It was like 139-109.
Yeah, it wasn't close.
Yeah, that's it for the game.
Good game. Good job, Spurs. Congratulations.
Yes.
Western
Okay.
Conference finalists.
A few moments later.
Today we have a special guest. It's Andrew Lohman, our draft correspondent.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome back.
Oh,
Welcome.
thrilled to be here.
If it makes sense, can you take us through this season in college basketball a little bit as it pertains to the draft?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. This season, college basketball was a very exciting season. They had true superstar power in a way that sometimes college basketball doesn't have. And so there were real superstars leading teams this year. When the biggest programs have a star, that's catnip for ESPN and for the other sports sites. And so that's, Cam Boozer, the bigger of the twins on Duke, whose father was an NBA player named Carlos Boozer. Then you also had AJ DeBonsa, Darren Peterson at Kansas, and AJ DeBonsa has been the number one guy for a long time, originally from the Boston area, but then went out to a prep school in Utah and played for BYU, which is cool for me. My alma mater was relevant until we had other injuries, and so it was just him trying to win basketball games, which is really fun to see when a superstar is doing that. But there were really good teams. There were really, but it was so freshman heavy. There were so many good freshmen this year, more than they even expected, that I think it's been a year where they've been talking about the NBA draft very excitedly from midway in the college basketball season. And so going into the NCAA tournament, you had a lot of discussion, not just about teams, but also about who these NBA prospects are, and these guys who are going to change the fortunes of NBA teams. And so, yeah, in that way, pretty interesting year. And the draft, like I said, has just been buzzing because there's so much strength. It's not just Cooper Flagg and the other guys. It's the top 4, but then the top 10 are all legitimate kind of discussion points and everything.
So you said 3. Okay. The 4th is Caleb.
Yep, Caleb Wilson out of UNC, who for most of the season it was the big 3, and then Caleb Wilson is being brought into the conversation kind of as the year progressed, but he also had injuries. So there's a little bit of speculation on him. Some of the people we listen to think that he's super interesting, but I'm not as sold on him. And, my colleagues would say that's the fact that my family leans more Duke than UNC. Yeah. But the hyper athletic 6'9", 6'10" guy who hasn't quite figured out a dribble or a shot is a roll of the dice going into the NBA. Caleb Wilson doesn't have a 3-point shot. He's okay from mid-range. He can fly, he can sky, he can jump out of the gym. But I'm nervous because learning how to dribble, learning how to make moves, learning how to shoot 3-pointers, learning how to consistently guard someone on the perimeter, like instead of just guarding inside. These are all high-level skills. Just project and say, oh yeah, all he has to do is add this, and this, and then he'll be an elite player. Wow. That makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Where the other 3 guys are all ones where you can say, oh, in the NBA right now, he can do A, B, and C and be effective right away.
Yeah. So the Wizards, Jazz, Grizzlies, and then who's 4th?
Who's 4th? The Bulls. We always forget about the Bulls. Yes, there we go.
They're forgettable. So take us through your. Were you
so
closely?
So of course, the Jazz. We wanted the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
For more reasons than just to have the number 1 pick. The dream of the Jazz is to get AJ DeBonsa. To have this pipeline going from the Utah prep school to BYU to the Jazz. The Jazz are owned by a billionaire who also heavily throws money at BYU's athletic program. So there's like this. It was perfect. But no, the Wizards get him. The Wizards get the first pick, and so the Wizards are in control. Now, what everyone's thinking right now is it's going to be DeBonsa at the top, Peterson next, and then Boozer and Wilson the next 2. Kind of, there's been a discussion, there are discussions, do you take the freak athlete with the higher upside or the proven player? So you have bad franchises that all get good, rock solid picks. Nobody there is kind of taking a gamble or a huge risk. I think that's the interesting conversation about this year's draft.
Oh, we're having an earthquake.
Oh, here we go, Taipei.
Yeah.
It's just a little one. Sorry.
So I think that's the big kind of narrative of this draft is that these bad teams, anyone who got a top 4 pick was going to be fine in the end. Of course, everyone has their opinions, everyone has their dreams, but any of those 4 picks, you're like, yeah, that's a top 4 pick. Last year's draft, even there was the solid top 3 maybe, and then there was a discussion of who was next, or some years there's even like, yeah, that's the first guy, and then we'll see, everyone's going to have their own kind of opinion after that. And so, yeah, this year's draft, I think that's the big narrative. I think that's the piece that just time and again, when you listen to the people who are following this day to day, that's what they're saying is, okay, the draft really starts at number 5. That's where it goes from there. Now, the big question is anyone going to try to trade?
Yes.
Right? The Jazz, if they do desperately want DeBonsa, like they said, Danny Ainge and his son are running the decision-making of the Utah Jazz. Danny Ainge was running the Celtics personnel. He made some of the biggest trades in NBA history. And so that's the question, right? Is someone going to pull the trigger? Danny Ainge has a pretty good track record with trading. And so then the question is, do you want to trade with Danny Ainge? Or is that a bad look for a younger GM to get hoodwinked by the savvy, veteran GM kind of thing? So, so I think there's a lot of narrative that's going to go around with that as well.
What do you think is going to happen?
My heart is that the Jazz say, Wizards, what do you want? And throw everything that the Wizards want at them. I think AJ DeBonsa is awesome.
Really?
I've watched him for a whole year. DeBonsa showed time and again this year that he can score at a high level. People are infatuated by Darren Peterson, who's a 6'4" shooting guard, which is not on the big side for a shooting guard. And now Anthony Edwards is around the same size, but everyone's talking about how incredible he is. I watched a number of his games. He had some weird kind of drama going on, questions about how much he actually wanted to play college basketball, right? Cramps from taking creatine is now the story that's come out.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all very strange, but Depance is like a good guy, hardworking guy, and I just think he's going to be awesome. So this is where I'm at. As a Jazz fan, I'm like, go for it. As the Wizards, there's a part of me that's like, they actually have a pretty good young team, and then they also have Anthony Davis and Trae Young. They have a team, and so if they wanted to collect a few other good players from the Jazz and a draft pick, I don't think people would really fault them too much because they have a chance to be good. They have a chance to be in the playoffs next year, where I don't think the Wizards have been able to say that for many years.
Yeah. Can you talk about Peterson a little bit more? Because my impression was like coming into the season, he was like the surest thing as a guard against whoever.
Yeah. And, maybe there's some fandom coming in here, right? But, you watch the games. Yeah, this guy can score. He can hit threes, knows how to score in lots of different ways. In high school, was it just an absolute dominant force on the high school basketball circuit? There is a question, though, of like, if you can't play consistently for 35 games in an NCAA season, how am I supposed to be convinced that you're going to go for an 82 season? And then if you can't do 35, why should I think you can do that? Now, is the guy a phenomenal scorer? Absolutely. Is he an incredible athlete? Absolutely. All of these things, they're just, I'm a little nervous. I think everyone is. And everyone was just kind of scratching their head all year long. Like, you're playing for Kansas, this program that has so much pride. The fan base, like the whole state, they go and they fill that place for bad teams. When you're a good team, like if you're not willing to get up to do that, where on the other hand, Cam Boozer loved playing in that space and just leaned into the big games and would go and pump up the crowd. And nothing was more exciting for him than playing basketball. I feel like those are the guys you want on your team, the guys who truly are into playing basketball. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your most likely outcome for draft night?
I think the safe prediction is just to say that these top four are going to stay the top four. I think it goes Debance, Peterson, Boozer, and then Wilson. The Wilson-Boozer switch could happen if Memphis decides that they are willing to take a swing on this hyper-athletic guy because their team is off the rails as it is. They don't know what to do with Ja Morant. They don't really have an identity right now. And so they already traded Jaren Jackson Jr. away to the Jazz and got assets from that. So, if they go full rebuild, they may take the bigger swing. But yes, those four guys, there really doesn't seem to be much talk about any of the next group of guys moving in. I think that's the most logical because I think the other thing with Boozer that you can get around is just the fact that he's like he loves the game of basketball and he's a winner. They talk about this kid, he won state titles every year in high school, came to Duke, was the college player of the year, won the ACC championship, took his team on a run in the tournament, didn't get to the title game, but still just won, he wins everywhere. So it's boring in that way. But in some ways somebody could take a swing, but I don't necessarily see any one of those teams needing to take the swing.
Yeah. A lot of like GMs, like the rest of us, want to keep their jobs. And I think that the only bad look in this draft would be trading up for a bust.
Yes.
Inside the top four, right? And I feel like if any team right now were like if the Jazz threw future picks and some assets at the Wizards, I don't think anyone would blame the Wizards GM for taking that and moving down to 2 to take Peterson.
Yep.
The variable there is Danny Ainge, who I think gives 0 Fs about optics. Like he'll do kind of cold-blooded, heartless, like just do what's best for the team. And if he thinks advances, I feel like that adds a little bit of a mystery to this, that the Jazz and the fact that the NIL stuff, like I think that like people who care about Utah and Utah sports have been throwing money at Devanza for a long time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of years.
Oh, yeah. He's from the Boston area, and the Utah thing went into play, maybe his last year of high school, but there was already kind of connections there beforehand. And
So you gave us your safe. What was the next question? How do we word it?
This was the bold prediction, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bold prediction. Okay, so the next part of the draft is where things get really interesting, right? You get all of these guards, and there are all these guards who are, for the most part, freshmen in college. They had big years. Everyone has them in slightly different orders. There's this guy Burries from Arizona. There's Flemings from Houston, I think. Keen Wagler from Illinois. Acuff from Arkansas, and Brown from Louisville. So you got these 5 guys. My bold prediction is that none of them are going to be the best guard in the draft. The next guard's actually the 6th guy. His name's LeBaron Philon from Alabama. Ooh. And I loved watching that guy play. He's a little bit Jalen Brunson-esque in terms of size and in terms of just like he's shorter, but you can hit him and he's still going to make his shots through traffic. A little bit of that just confidence and swagger there's a big guy right in front of him and he's just going to go right at him. Doesn't really care. Isn't going to try to figure out how to dance around the guy. Is just going to go at him. Not to jump over him, but to like make contact and make the finish through. So I've loved watching that guy play this year. And he's a sophomore. And I think that's the interesting piece, right? Is in college basketball now, a lot of times if you don't come out after your freshman year, it's almost like, what's wrong with you then? But with the NIL era, you can be making $2 million as a sophomore in college.
Right.
Where in the NBA, the only guys with a guarantee are in the first round, right? And so if you aren't going to get in the first round, you're making more money in college. So why not stay? But there's still this perception that, well, the really good guys only need 1 year in college and then they're coming to the draft.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the guards. I think LeBaron Philon is the most exciting of all of those guards. But it's another one of these situations where this draft is so interesting because everyone's looking at those 6 different guards and they're saying, oh, yeah, they're legitimate NBA players. It's not if we look at them through this lens and squint a little bit, we could see the potential that this guy could be this kind of player. Right. Everyone's looking at them and they're like, no, they have NBA skills. These guys are going to be good. And so you're almost at this point now where you're 10 deep in the draft and people are saying like, no, those are legitimate NBA players right away. So that's why this draft, I think, is also getting so much of this conversation. It's just because it's so deep. And that's when you then start getting to the really interesting part, which is the middle part, the end of the first round, where the question then becomes, again, these teams that maybe made the playoffs or made the play-in games and are trying to find the right piece to fit in or trying to find the highest upside guy, the most potential, and trying to figure out what to do with this. This is also the time of year where you get these fascinating stories where this kid, Nate Ament from Tennessee, goes to the doctor and is measured at like 6'9.5" without shoes, but then they also do an x-ray of his growth plates and they say, oh, he's still growing, so who knows how tall he's going to, he could add another inch or two. And this is the story that you hear about guys like Giannis, Kevin Garnett. These guys get to the NBA and still grow an inch or two. Kevin Durant supposedly grew up inches. Wemby got taller as well. Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting to see that being used as a marketing strategy, as like hey, look at my guy. Look at how tall he is. Look at all that he can do. He could be 2 inches taller.
Yeah, it's weird. It sounds like such a small thing, but it does matter.
Yeah.
All right, what's your what do we call it? The holy shit prediction?
Yeah.
My big prediction, my like weird prediction. This year, we saw the value of the point guard come back in a real way in the NBA. So the question then is, who in this draft is that? And this draft has a guy coming out of Purdue named Braden Smith, who is the NCAA's all-time leader in assists and scored 14 points a game. There's going to be a point next year where everyone goes, oh, hey, yeah, look at him. Where did he come from? He got drafted in the second round. And, they're going to try to make this guy who came out of nowhere. He didn't. He's the all-time leader in assists, and he played at a Big Ten school. There's value there. It's not sexy value because it's not like a 6'9" guy who may grow 2 more inches. He says he's 6'1". I think without shoes, he's 5'11". So, it's this guy but we see time and again that what do teams struggle with? Actually running an offense. You see, so that's also a little bit why I think LeBaron Philon is such an interesting player as well out of Alabama, because he has a little bit of that kind of that point guard mentality as well. But yeah, I think that there's going to be this all-time leader in assists. He knows how to play basketball.
Yeah. I have 2 more questions for you. The first one, what do you think the odds are that the Thunder make like a Godfather offer to get into the top 4?
So this is the big question, right? Is Sam Presti, who's so smart, who's always playing the game like chess when everyone else is playing checkers. The question is how do you have 3 guys making max contract money plus other guys making veteran contract money when you're in a small market, right? And the answer is no one's really ever been able to do that. No one's ever had an owner who's willing to pay all of the luxury tax penalties and with the cap and everything like that. I don't think it's that out of the question because it makes all the financial sense in the world to jettison one of their players. They also, if we remember, for a couple different reasons, they've had, kind of top half of the first round picks or good draft picks that haven't played. Unfortunately, one of their guys who they drafted out of Europe tore his ACL and then had cancer later on. And so Nikola Topic, I think is his name, but he came back and played this year, after legitimately having cancer treatment over the summer. He was able to make it back on an NBA court. He still looks, he needs another year to get back into real basketball shape, but he was a top kind of 10 prospect, big scoring European guard. And then they have Sarber, who's their center they drafted last year, who had a knee injury so they've just had these guys for a year injured in the gym with them, right? Working on them, kind of giving them a red shirt season or giving them a season just to kind of be in the weight room. And so I think that there's a high probability that they do swing for it just because the finances don't work otherwise. And so the person that's being mentioned is Jalen Williams, because you can't trade SGA, is so versatile and so unique that you're not going to find a clean replacement for that. But with Jalen Williams, you already have other guys who can play defense. AJ Mitchell's kind of come on strong.
You already have another guy named Jalen Williams in the team.
Yes, exactly. Right. So let's keep it to 1 Jalen Williams per team. So, that I think that's obviously, your Celtics are in conversation. They are in the discussions about stuff now as well. There are going to be a lot of trades. Yeah. And I think that that's where we're going to kind of just be. There's going to be multiple times this summer, I think, where we go, whoa, that just happened.
Yeah. So we talked about tanking a lot this year. From a college basketball perspective, I didn't prep you on this, and the answer might be no, but I'm
excited for this.
Has that changed discussions?
I think we don't quite know what it is yet. It's been leaked. Here are the couple different models we're looking at, but whatever is going to be they're finalizing it now, and it's going to be in the owners' meeting that they vote on something. But it really is, flattening the odds a little bit more for these teams. I think in the college basketball world, players know that you can't, put yourself on one team. Last year, Ace Bailey thought he had done it successfully and he was going to going to go to the Wizards, and Danny Ainge said, "Nah, you're going to play for the Jazz. Come on." And so I think from that perspective, I think college basketball players aren't necessarily looking at it saying, which team am I trying to get myself on?
Yeah.
And so I don't think that the NBA lottery shifting around really changes the perspective from a college player, particularly because it's a set NBA rookie salary scale as well. And so whether you're going to play in Memphis or in Miami, you're getting paid the same for your draft slot. So
yeah. The only thing I could picture was that like it might be more exciting because like a person getting drafted by, pick your horrible team might be in purgatory for a second. And now, right, if the team that loses in the play-in gets the number one pick, they might be that piece away from actually being really relevant right away. And I think about people whose careers never really took off because they were just like, do you remember Evan Turner?
Of course I remember Evan Turner. Oh yeah.
I think about him because he was like very good, but not franchise altering good, but he never really got a chance to play in a team that mattered. And for someone like him, or all those teams, sorry to Anthony, but all those players who like were part of the process and then just never learned how to win. Like, I wonder if that won't happen as much.
Well, and this is from a Utah Jazz fan perspective.
Right.
This is what we're concerned about, right? Is how many years can you be bad? Right. And to the Jazz's credit, they said this is what the model is. Okay, so we're just gonna. Yeah, we're going all in on not winning. It's terrible. It's disgusting. We don't even know if the coach is a good coach. Everyone says he's a good coach because he coached with the Celtics, but he's never been allowed to win games.
Yeah. Do you have a fix for it? Do you have a draft fix? Have you heard one that you like, or a tanking fix, or like, what do you think about getting rid of the draft?
Well, you go back to like the 1940s and 50s where you had you got to like pick a regional player. You want to talk about how college basketball would change like crazy then. Guys like Ryan Smith from Utah would be paying everyone $10-20 million to come to BYU so the Jazz could then so like that would cause all sorts of chaos. I don't necessarily think there's a good fix, honestly. I think that the NBA season, there's like that middle part of the year where you're just like, no, we know who the good teams are and who aren't. Can we just stop pretending like we need all these games and instead just get to the playoffs? Let's get to the good stuff, right? I don't know. I think I'm open to whatever they try because it can't be worse than it was this year. Right? Like there were so many bad teams and so many nights where you'd look at it and you just say, okay, so those bad teams are all playing each other. That team's not trying to win. That team still wants to win. Great. So we know the outcome.
There were legitimately nights where it was like there wasn't a single game where both teams wanted to win.
Yes. And that's not a good product.
No. So, you good?
I'm great.
Irish, I'm sorry. You haven't been able to, you've been such a good listener.
Really?
I'm sorry.
Haven't been, but I haven't been a great listener.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Take
Andrew.
care, guys.
See ya.
Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Bye.
A few moments later.
I have an MVP.
Yeah, go. Oh, Andrew's the MVP for sure.
You're right.
But Andrew, good job. Andrew's
MVP.
Draft expertise.
Thanks for coming.
We have like a special correspondent. So good job, Andrew. LVP?
Mine is James Goldstein, who I spotted sitting courtside at this game. He's a super fan and he's obsessed with the NBA. And I'm going to tell you about him in the Weepisode.
Might actually be a weepy episode because he's kind of gross.
He's a villain.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's got to be, it's injuries, postseason injuries.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. I hope everyone stays healthy in this Thunder series. Like DiVincenzo being out, Anthony Edwards wasn't himself. Who else has been really hurt in these playoffs? Anyway,
Anthony Edwards hyperextended his knee. Did you say that? I wasn't listening.
Yeah. Just said that. Last name I said. Leave that in. You got to leave that in. Yes, the soft tissue injuries.
So frequently.
Yeah, it's good. So injuries, my LVP. What was your most confusing part?
I'm learning a lot about the draft.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I'm confused about that, but I couldn't explain it to anybody else.
Okay.
Really.
Not ready to teach it. Yeah. Most confusing part. I think I'll go with like the draft. I think this year was like really exciting and like the lottery picking. Yeah. Now they're like redoing it a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering what is going to be the thing that people are angry about next year if tanking goes away a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a fun league to gripe about. I think teams are going to be trying to win more games, but I'm sure some other problem will spring up.
Of course.
Yeah. What'd you learn?
I learned a lot about the upcoming draft players. And I think that the thing I found really interesting that Andrew was talking about was how now with NIL, not everyone is in a rush to like leave college.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's better. Like it's an improvement in the situation overall for players.
Into the labor, right?
Yeah.
Like however you frame it, like there are more choices, than there were. And the fact that like the weaving between deciding you're eligible for the draft and then being like, actually that situation's not going to work given the way things are unfolding. I'm going to go back to school or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I'm thinking about too. So I agree.
Okay.
Did we do it?
We did it.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you for listening to Go Team Score Points. Today's episode was edited by Irish. You can reach us at goteamscorepoints@gmail.com. Join us later this week when I'm going to tell you all about garbage human being James Goldstein. He's also an NBA superfan. And we're going to reflect on at least the Celtics season.
Buckle up.
Yeah. See you then.
Thanks, Andrew.
Doing that, but so there were really good teams. There were really, but it was so freshman heavy. There were so many good freshmen this year, more than they even expected. That I think it's been a year where they've been talking about the NBA draft very excitedly from midway in the college basketball season. And so going into the NCAA tournament, you have a lot of discussion not just about teams, but also about who these NBA prospects are. And these guys who are going to, change the fortunes of NBA teams. And so, in that way, pretty cool, pretty interesting year. And the draft, like I said, has just been buzzing because there's so much strength. It's not just Cooper Flagg and the other guys. It's it's the top 4, but then the top 10 are all legitimate. We're all legitimate kind of discussion points and.
So you said 3.
Okay.
The fourth is Caleb.